Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks a lot for being here. I'm not Kashyap Deorah. I'm Gaurav Deshpande. I'm the Vice President of Marketing for HyperTrack. And I'm so happy that all of you are joining us here. It's an honor and a privilege that you take time out of your busy schedules to join us here for the first inaugural Logistics and Tech Summit. I can't tell you, when I got on board with HyperTrack 3 months back, 4 months back, Kashyap had been telling me this is something that people have been asking for, and here it is. I give you Kashyap Deorah, CEO of HyperTrack. Just a quick housekeeping announcement before Kashyap starts his presentation. Those of you who are on the Feedloop portal listening to us, you will see join audio by computer. That's how you are able to hear me. On the bottom left-hand side, there's a join audio button. So anytime you want to switch the audio or join back in, remember that bottom left-hand side join audio button. Click on that and just say join audio by computer, and you'll be able to hear what we are talking about. Second housekeeping item is in the Feedloop chat. You can post any questions that you have during the session, or as we have the roundtable in the second half of the session, you can post the questions there. Any problems you have, you can also post it in the chat there, and one of the team members from Logistics+Tech Summit and the logistic community would be able to help you. With that, let me it's my honor and pleasure to announce Kashyap Deorah, founder and CEO of HyperTrack. Kashyap, take it away.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Gaurav. Welcome to Logistics+Tech Summit. Welcome to the first Logistics+Tech Summit. Welcome to your first Logistics+Tech Summit. So you've been asking for it for many years now. It's been 6 years since we started HyperTrack and brought the Logistics+Tech community together. I'm super thrilled and excited to have our first, the first of the Logistics+Tech builder community of the world. And it feels like the revenge of the nerds, if you will. Let me explain that. So, we all know nerds run the Silicon Valley. I don't have to call out that nerds are cool anymore. But logistics actually has been different. Logistics has always been seen as the back end of things. All the investment and mind share goes into bringing in new business, customer acquisition. So ad tech, marketing tech are a much larger proportion of e-commerce than logistics tech is of e-commerce, or logistics tech is of all of logistics. It's long in the tooth, it's stuck in the dinosaur age. And the reason for that is, one of my former employers, a major retailer, he used to say, retail is about product and price. Technology and logistics are just enablers, as long as they don't screw up, he used to say. So that retailer is incidentally now a dinosaur hit by an asteroid called e-commerce. But I think the state of logistics tech in the world by far is still a reflection of somewhat of that sentiment. So the world has changed, the world has changed dramatically now, as we know, the world we live in. Just look at the on-demand economy. Is it about the product or price, really, right? Is it people getting a better cab or a better dish from the restaurant or some exclusive groceries? Is it about, so it's not a different product. It's not cheaper price either, right? We don't order online because it's cheaper anymore, or on demand because it's cheaper. In most cases, we're paying more, and we know we're paying more. So convenience has really emerged as the number one value proposition for customers. So between product, price, and convenience has sort of taken over as number one for the last many years now. So fulfillment, in some sense, has become the front end, from being the back end. So we logistics nerds have our revenge. And just right before I started, one of the panelists, Tom, Swigert from iFit, parent company Nordic Track. They make exercise equipment. He was saying that although logistics is coming more into focus, the technology behind logistics is still underrepresented. So I'm just super thrilled to have, to be kicking off our first Logistics Tech Summit. So let me ask you a question, and I'll give you a few seconds before I switch to the next slide. Do you know which are the largest muscles in the human body? Give it a second. So, many of you might actually know this, but I got to know this much later. I got to know this during COVID just a few years ago when I started training and exercising indoors. So, in my late teens, when I first went to the gym, I wanted to build bulky biceps, handsome chest, six-pack abs. And that tells you, I'm dating myself. It tells you how old I am, because Gen Z would say 8-pack, what's a six-pack, dad? It was all about the front end, the attractive front end for customer acquisition, if you know what I mean. But to my surprise, the more important muscles are all in the back. So it's the back of the thigh, glutes, hips, the back, triceps. So the true core of the human body is in the back. And the health of the body, the lifespan, strength, they all come from the back end. And when times get tough, as they did for many of us personally during COVID, health-wise, and from a business perspective, times are getting tough now with high inflation and interest rates and market conditions and e-commerce consolidation, you name it, potentially an upcoming recession. We are all going back to the basics, right? So we are strengthening the most important muscles of our body, logistics, and that's what will lead to efficient growth and profitable growth. So here's what I'm saying. You don't want to be Popeye, the sailor man, solving all the world's problems with the bicep of one hand, right? While the other hand is used to eat spinach and grow those biceps. You want to be more like Sue Storm, the invisible woman. She never appears solo, by the way. Her powers are passive. They're meant to protect, not attack. She was one of the original characters in Fantastic Four when Marvel started doing superheroes. And just like logistics tech, I feel like we need to evolve that character. There's just a lot more potential there, and it's powerful, reliable. We often repeat at HyperTrack, every time a bunch of us get together and review our values, we talk about how we don't want to win the Best Actor award. That's for our customers. We consistently want to win the Best Supporting Actor award, right? And I feel like this represents the sentiment of the logistics tech builder community that I'm talking to today. So let me dive a little deeper into how we see the evolution of logistics tech so far. So it feels like we're in the third generation of logistics tech, right? So in the first generation, you had a few software companies that are building vertical end-to-end solutions and applications, transportation management system, TMS, field service management system, FSM, fleet management solutions, and so on. So you buy all these apps in a box, you open the box, you roll out a control tower to the ops manager, apps for the driver, or fit a GPS into the vehicle. You pass along a link to the customer, and boom, that's logistics tech. In the second generation, which I would date in the mid 2000s to late 2000s, a few things happened. The mobile OS became Android and iOS predominantly, and they allowed you to make apps and distribute them. And the apps had access to device location and other sensor information with user permission. You had cloud technologies. So AWS became a thing, changed the world. Other hyperscalers built sophisticated cloud infrastructure technologies that became accessible to developers. And then maps companies, the digital maps companies, started offering logistics-friendly solutions. So as developers, we could take all of these pieces and stitch up logistics tech. And think of this as the early days of Uber, Instacart, DoorDash, even Amazon. that did all this with billions of dollars of investments and lots of hundreds of engineers over the years building out some really defensible logistics tech, which is giving them a significant advantage into owning a huge part of the consumption and retail. So we are in the third generation now, and it's time to start building with better and smarter APIs. It's logistics is a large enough space, and we are a large enough community that we need our own API, that special purpose. We need our own cloud. So there's 1 million of us, apparently. If you look at 30 million developers in the world, 1 million of those are logistics tech builders who are building logistics apps. So these are apps for workers, for the drivers who are the real people making it happen on the ground, apps that make their lives better, more productive, and ultimately generating more income for them. Apps for the operations managers, those supervisors who sit in stores and warehouses and regional offices, hubs, lines of businesses, customer support centers, you name it. It's a thankless job, by the way. No one remembers you when things go bad. No one remembers you when things go right. We all remember you when things go bad, right? And yet we all count on them for making it happen on time all the time. So, and finally, apps for customers, so that the customers know at every important moment what's happening to their order, blow by blow, turn by turn. Barcode in, barcode out is not good anymore. It's saying that the order is on the way, check is in the mail it doesn't work anymore. Customers are anxious. Their expectation is to have much higher visibility into every turn of the order. So HyperTrack's role in this journey is to provide these special purpose APIs so that these 1 million developers can build their logistics tech their own way and fulfill their imagination, right? So do it in a way that gives you control over your workflows and user experiences for all of these stakeholders, the driver, the ops manager, and the customer. And these are APIs to plan, assign, and track orders for last mile fulfillment so that you do not have to stitch up mobile, cloud, and maps infrastructure and can focus on your core business. And what we believe is, why should this technology be within the walled gardens of a few on-demand apps who retain a sort of monopoly on this technology? This is a technology that we want to build and democratize for the rest of the world, for logistics tech builders such as yourself. So imagine what took the on-demand apps a few years and billions of dollars and many engineers to build. What if you could build stuff like that within 2 sprints with a couple of engineers, right? And when you take something that's previously difficult and make that really easy and hand over that power into the hands of developers and creators and builders like yourselves, then that's when magic happens, right? So that's what we're rooting for. So we collectively have a job to do, so logistics tech is long in the tooth, stuck in the Stone Age. We need to get it out of there to a much better place. So, one of the blogs and many other industry reports have cited that logistics tech is going from a $25 billion market to a $100 billion market. We're starting with 1 million developers, and we'll need many more of those, but we get to set the stage and the foundation for how we get from 25 to 100. So if you think about that for a second, 3 times more logistics tech will get built in the next decade than has been built in the past 4 decades, right? And that's a huge responsibility. And whenever we think about building what we're building and why we are doing so, I think what shows up on the surface is we're doing it for better customer experiences and for better efficiencies for the business, of course. Now, while those are true, let me add a couple of more things which are very relevant to what we're impacting in the world. Worker income and carbon emissions, right? So let me go one by one. So in the world at large, the labor market is reorganizing itself in a dramatic way. Gen Z doesn't want full-time jobs or job security as much as they want flexibility and working on their own terms and using their skill to maximize income. Flex work, the great resignation is happening. So our work in logistics tech is going to contribute to the primary income of an increasing number of people in the world. And this is a trend spanning industries, spanning geographical regions. And on the other side, the shortest path logistics, more efficient logistics is going to lead to lower carbon emissions. Vehicles will get more electric, and yet, the vehicles need to be charged. The more efficiently we orchestrate, plan, assign, and track what's going on, we'll directly influence a better, greener planet. So just, keep that in the back of your minds. So, I just want to share some exciting numbers with you. It's very heartwarming for us at HyperTrack when, we've been at it for 6 years with the mission of bringing logistics tech builders of the world together and democratizing these special purpose APIs for them to build out the last mile. About 2% of these million developers have signed up for HyperTrack and played around with our APIs. 1,500 of you have registered for this summit. It's an overwhelming response, a very warm response. It tells me that we've hit a nerve with how important it is for us logistics tech community to get together and share learnings and really build out the future together. We represent over 300 companies, Gaurav tells me, over 80 countries, all inhabited continents and most time zones, and many dozens of industries. Many of you are live right now, and many will be later in the day, and others are going to view the recorded sessions that in their own time, in their own time zones. So talking to all of you is how we know how much you waited for this moment. So who are we, right? What industries do we represent? What companies do we represent? Let me give you a little sneak peek into that before moving on to our next session. So, when I say logistics tech builders, here's what we represent. So, of course, we have the supply chain and logistics, delivery people, trucking, couriers, movers, the package people, you name it. We have manufacturers and retailers who are now delivering same day or even on demand. I think the manufacturers and retailers realize that they want to be, they do not want to become dinosaurs and are aware of the incoming asteroid called the on-demand economy. They've started to build their own gig delivery networks. They've started to have tighter control over the technology integration and owning the end customer experience and brand experience with their 3PLs. We also have flex work marketplaces. I've been talking about the labor market reorganizing across industries, not just drivers and food delivery and grocery delivery, but across the board, the labor market is getting reorganized. So there are flex work marketplaces that are helping the market reorganize across industries. So they're represented in the show. And then we have mobility companies. In many ways, they're the ones who showed us the way on how on-demand commerce for the world will work for the next few decades. It started with more, ride sharing, and now that same technology is going into intercity, intracity, public transit, private transit, you name it. We also have, you see some big logos here, in terms of large enterprises. And the reason for that is, they have large field service and field sales forces. They're dealing with the flex work phenomenon, as well as their customers, be it a business or end consumer, seeking more on-demand or same-day kind of experiences. So they're in the show as well. And if I take a step back and try and summarize, so what is the logistics tech community, right? How would you simply define that? I would say one way to look at that is it's the people who are building tech for anything that moves with commercial value. So if you look out and go, if there is movement, whether in a bike or truck or van or car, if it's movement with commercial value, where a product or service or ride has an order associated with it, tech to plan and assign and track that is logistics tech. So all of you are here today. Thank you very much for being here and starting this first summit. So let me dive into the good stuff now. We have a fantastic lineup of speakers today. Right after my introduction here, we'll get on a roundtable for the on-demand and last mile delivery. Veteran journalist Chris Primusberger, one of my favorite people, he's been writing about tech since the beginning of the internet, of the public internet in the 90s. He's going to be moderating a panel talking with Aaron Marcus from Kroger, who's going to bring in the supermarket perspective, also as an engineering leader, the engineering perspective. Tom Swigert, who I spoke about a few moments ago, he's going to bring in the operations perspective and, from, big and bulky, treadmills and so on. Vishal Kapoor from Shipt, he represents, a leading same-day delivery service of the nation, Target being the parent company. He also represents the product clan on the panel. And then after that, Chris continues on to have a conversation with Kaushik Pendurthi from Jobbox and Connor Lyons from Gigable, all the way from Ireland. Chris is going to talk to them about the tectonic shift in the labor market that I've been alluding to, a phenomenon that no industry can ignore anymore. And you'll see in that talk, it's super exciting. And then the last exec roundtable of the day would be on field services and field sales. Hari Dutt from W Energy is going to be on the panel. W Energy is, of course, the leading ERP provider for oil and gas companies in the US. He's joined by Partha Sarkar from Groundworks, America's leading provider of foundation services, and Agni Ananda from Appify. Appify is a third-gen technology helping builders build out, field service, field sales management, and they have some of the largest companies in media, telecom, and utility sectors. So he's going to talk about that, and they will collectively talk about the challenges in field service reliability and productivity and how technologies are being deployed to solve it. And then we have, in between these exec roundtables, we would be announcing some case studies. These are HyperTrack users who've built with our APIs and made a significant dent in their business using that technology. They're going to be presenting their case studies during the show. And then at the end of that, the case studies will be available to you to take offline, both the videos of the talk as well as documents that you can share with your colleagues and take home. So let me give you a quick intro there. Peter and Viviana from Jobbox will talk in depth about flex work in the home services space, and specifically how they improved job completion rates, their North Star metric. And then Shrivan from W Energy talks about field service in the oil and gas industry and how they improve productivity for field service professionals in that industry. And finally, Prashant from Magaloop in Germany is going to be talking about same day and next day B2B delivery. These are deliveries going from wholesalers and manufacturers to mom and pop retailers in Germany, and how they improved user retention with better planning, assignment, and tracking. All of these case studies, like I said, will have accompanying material that will be published on logisticstechsummit.com with public access. Read it, share it with your teams, ask us or the speakers for any clarifications or questions. And now this part is super exciting. I've been talking about the 3 generations of logistics tech, and that can be very confusing for us when we make our decisions about what to buy or what to build with. So HyperTrack has spent a lot of time to put together a buyer's guide for you to help you navigate this complex landscape. So there's apps and SDKs and APIs and open source software, map solutions, cloud solutions, route optimizers, each evolving in their own way and getting more adjacent with the other as well, which is all great for the industry. It can be very confusing. So we've tried to synthesize it, provided some mental models, tables, charts for developers and product managers to make the right decisions about what's the right fit for their context, and also given a commercial perspective there so that business executives and CFOs can weigh in with the commercial implications of that, and your business as a whole can make the right decision. So that releases today. You'll find the buyer's guide button next to the registration button on logisticstechsummit.com. Go check it out. Today it should be online, and if not, in the next few hours. So different ways of building versus buying, last mile tech, investing in software versus hardware versus services versus ongoing maintenance, trade-offs between out-of-the-box functionality, flexibility, time to market, risk, initial investment, ongoing cost of ownership, and doing all this in a way that ensures unit economics, are predictable and as we iterate across these different pieces of technology. In the first avatar of Logistics Tech Summit, we decided to keep it virtual. One, to be more inclusive of this diverse community, and the other was to just understand the pulse of where people were, who would participate, and how many would even show up. And we've just been so overwhelmed with the response this time that it just bodes really well for the future of this summit. So although everything's virtual today and tomorrow, we do have in-person meetups and connects that we're going to do over the course of the year. To start with, we're announcing 4 regions where we will do small executive roundtables. It's by nomination only. The nominations would open this Friday, November 18th, on logisticstechsummit.com. Seats are limited, so please be sure to go there and file your nominations. We'll start with Chicago, followed by Dallas Fort Worth area, followed by Home Sweet Home, San Francisco Bay Area, and then Bangalore. So all this is between now and January. And if your city is missing or you want to request a city for a meetup, please, there'll be a provision to do that on logisticstechsummit.com. So want to announce that. And then finally, there is tomorrow. So let me just give you a quick sneak peek into tomorrow. Ram, the head of product of HyperTrack, will start the day tomorrow by walking us through the HyperTrack product vision and roadmap. We have some exciting new features and releases that we've been baking for the better part of the year. So I'm super excited about that. I started my morning today with seeing some of those go to production, right before the event. We are releasing order scores. Imagine every order that's fulfilled is automatically scored across a dozen contributing metrics, and you have a quality score of the order fulfillment, right place, right time, the right amount of time, the most efficient routes, trackability, etc. Then we have orders at risk that we recently released. Ram will talk about that. Orders which are still on the way. How can you assess the real-time risk of something bad happening and intervening and addressing that proactively? We're launching Places, also called Address Book, where we use your drivers as sort of cartographers. They don't have to do anything different from what they're doing today. But we're using the places they're visiting to draw up the logistics map of your business and help you use that in significant ways. And all of these are sort of building blocks to what we call self-improving routes, where every order fulfilled helps you make the next order fulfillment better. We all have a plan. And as Mike Tyson says, we all have a plan until we get punched in the face. And that's the life in logistics, is when reality hits, how do you use the deviation between plan and actual to make a better plan for the next one, right? So that's self-improving routes. So exciting stuff coming up. Right after that, Muiz is going to run a workshop where we help you build your own logistics app with HyperTrack and your favorite map, Google or Mapbox. We will validate your app at the end and give you a certificate at the end of the workshop. And then HyperTrack's solution leaders and engineering leaders take over and take you into some deep dives. The two Bens of HyperTrack, Ben Allen and Ben Johnson, will talk to our customers, Eric Geiler from A&B Courier in Canada and Toby Becker from Magaloop in Germany. They'll talk to them about key operational considerations when deploying logistics tech, just practical stuff and issues when rubber hits the road, followed by our head of logistics intelligence, talking about our ML AI analytics layer. And finally, very excited about HyperTrack's founding engineers, the foundational engineers who are building the very foundation of HyperTrack's infrastructure that you lean on. They're going to be, giving you a sneak peek under the hood around our device to cloud infrastructure and talking about scale, security, reliability, and all of that good stuff. So that was a mouthful. I am super excited and just a warm, heartfelt welcome to everyone. Thank you for making this day possible. Excited about the next few hours. So pour your coffee or your favorite beverage, depending on what time zone you are in. I'm going to hand it over to Chris Primesberger to take us into prime time. I'm excited about our future together, and let's build it together. Thank you.